Hello and welcome to the next stop of the Tomorrow's Leaders Virtual Road Trip 2020. My name is David Bach. I'm the chair for the Tomorrow's Leaders Charlotte chapter, and I'm going to be taking you through a brief tour of Charlotte, North Carolina, where we'll look at some of the exciting venues and sporting teams in the city, as well as a lot of the great outdoor activities and all the things that the city has to offer, as well as some of the cultural and history aspects of Charlotte as well, just to kind of give you a brief overview of everything. First stop will be at the NFL Stadium, where the Carolina Panthers play, Bank of America Stadium. Seats over 75,000 people and is located directly in the city in Uptown Charlotte. As you can see, it's an open air stadium that has a phenomenal view of the Charlotte skyline. And of course, another great thing of being located right in Uptown is it's close to a lot of other retail restaurants and bars for people to do these kind of things and tailgate before the game or go out after games on Sundays or even on Monday Night Football. Coming back to the stadium, Charlotte is actually going to also play host to a Major League Soccer team, Charlotte Football Club. They just announced the name actually maybe in June of 2020. But they will be part of the expansion process for Major League Soccer or MLS. That was actually one of the big goals that David Tepper, who's the current owner of the Panthers, had when he took over the team about bringing MLS to Charlotte. Big reason just because Bank of America Stadium actually would play host to a lot of international friendly matches and would always get some pretty big turnouts for that. So as a result of having a stadium and an urban environment as well as a loyal soccer following already, that was kind of one of the things that he really had hoped for when he took over the Panthers. So originally slated to join the league in 2021, unfortunately the team's debut has been pushed off to 2022 as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but they still have the banner for the club up on the stadium at this time, showing the crown emblem, since Charlotte is actually known as the Queen City. 4 points on the crown being the 4 wards within Uptown Charlotte, and minted in 2022, kind of as a nod to kind of a classical coin look, because Charlotte is actually becoming known as one of the biggest financial hubs in the United States. Charlotte's NBA team, the Charlotte Hornets, is calls the Spectrum Center home. They're actually a Michael Jordan-owned team. Started in the late 80s, but had a short hiatus when the team moved to New Orleans, but then eventually returned as the Charlotte Bobcats, only to come back to the Hornets name by 2014. But in all that time, the Hornets have never won an NBA championship, a conference title, or a division championship. So with that, that's probably all the time we need to spend on the Charlotte Hornets. Next on our list of stadiums is Truist Ballpark. This is the home of the AAA baseball team, the Charlotte Knights. They're actually a Chicago White Sox affiliate, and their stadium, of course, is right in Uptown Charlotte, as you can see, with a great view of the Uptown skyline. A lot of fun games and very inexpensive to go, and they have a lot of great theme nights like Thirsty Thursday, Dollar Dog Nights, and one of the most popular ones is Bark in the Park, where people can bring their dogs to the games. And even during the pandemic, they've gotten created and hosted other sorts of events, such as on-field yoga or exercise classes, a summer movie series on the big screen, as well as hosting some performances like the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. If sporting events aren't your thing, but concerts are, then just northwest of downtown Charlotte is Music Factory Boulevard, named for the North Carolina Music Factory. So this is actually a slew of performance venues close to the city where of varying different sizes and different performances. So they have the Comedy Zone for comedy shows. They have an outdoor venue for outdoor concerts, but then they have 2 larger indoor venues, one of which, the Fillmore, is more for larger acts, well-known acts that most folks have heard of. The Charlotte chapter actually hosted Rocktoberfest in 2019 at the Fillmore, and then right next door to that is the Underground for more kind of like indie shows, lesser-known artists, but all of it is stretched along Music Factory Boulevard with various restaurants and bars and other nightlife. Something that a lot of people who have never been to Charlotte, but they do seem to know about, is actually the U.S. National Whitewater Center. It's been open since 2001, and it's actually the country's largest man-made recirculating river. Actually, it's the world's largest, and also serves as a U.S. Olympic Training Center. It sits on 1,300 acres of land, protected land, and it has over 50 miles of trails and access to both the Catawba River and Long Creek. People who come to the Whitewater Center, all they have to do is pay to park, and then there's actually plenty of free activities, such as using the hiking trails or the mountain biking trails I mentioned. They have outdoor yoga classes, and they even have a summer concert series called River Jam, where they play on the weekends. But if you're into some of the more intense activities that are paid for, you can either buy a day pass or you can even buy an annual pass if you're somebody who lives in Charlotte. And that gets you access to all sorts of things, obviously the whitewater rafting, kayaking, zip lines, rope courses, paddle boards, all sorts of outdoor activities. But if you're somebody who considers yourself outdoorsy, meaning you like to drink outside, they also do have a beer garden, a restaurant, a marketplace, as well as various other vendors and food stands, especially during popular festivals and other large events. And they even have seasonal activities such as lights around the holidays, as well as ice skating, which will be coming up soon. If you're feeling a bit more on the competitive side, they even host trail races throughout the year of all sorts of varying lengths and skill levels. They have yoga teacher training if you're someone who's looking to become an instructor. And then even one of the other popular events is the one pictured called Deep Water Solo, where people actually get out of the pool and straight onto a climbing wall that's inverted, and then at the top drop back into the water. It's quite intense. In addition to River Jam and some of the other festivals they host, one of the most popular events of the year is definitely the Build Your Own Boat Race, which I actually have been to one year, didn't participate, but entrants who do form teams, and they basically have to ride through the rapids on a homemade boat that's subject to certain rules and restrictions, I'm sure, but usually a lot of points are given for creativity and themes and costumes, which you can kind of see one of the fun ones that we've done here. So Charlotte actually used to be home of a lot of cotton mills and other industrial spaces. And so one of the things we're seeing around Charlotte is a lot of revitalization of some of those former industrial spaces. One of which, the big one, is Camp North End. It's a 76-acre site that currently has a number of small businesses, food stands, coffee, office spaces, retail, as well as a lot of open space for special events that'll have live music and food trucks and other things like that on the weekend. And actually, it was even played host to a campaign stop for Joe Biden just recently during his campaign trail. But actually, it started out as a Ford Motor Company assembly plant. Now, the Ford plant was quite a while ago. It was in the 20s and 30s, and it was a pretty small area back then. And then the U.S. Army actually ended up purchasing it from Ford in 1941 and started using it for purposes of World War II activity and production, where they added another million square feet of warehouse space across the site and employed over 2,500 people to help produce things for the Army. And they even eventually used it to produce other missiles and weapons, actually, which is where the name camp came from for Camp North End. It was the Charlotte Army Missile Plan. And actually, the Army remained on the site through the Cold War, and then eventually sold it to Rite Aid. Rite Aid, the company, used the area as for a distribution center for quite some time, but then recently, back in late 2016, a developer purchased the land and turned it into one of the largest adaptive reuse projects in Charlotte. They've really opened it as a hub for the community, where they want to foster a lot of creativity, innovation, and really help a lot of different unique small local businesses really expand and make this a big area for a lot more development and retail, office space, and even housing. They currently have about 3 million square feet of development plans over the next 2 decades. So it's really going to be changing rapidly in the coming years. Another way Charlotteans stay active is through the Mecklenburg County Greenway system. There's actually 52 miles of developed greenways in Mecklenburg County, and they continue to have more and more planned in the coming years. Easily one of the most popular parts of the Greenway system is the Charlotte Rail Trail, named for the light rail, one of Charlotte's public transit system. It's a 3.5 mile trail, and it kind of starts up in Uptown, which you can see sort of in the foreground, and goes directly south all the way through South End and Sedgefield and some other neighborhoods. And they're continuing to plan some expansion here, but it's definitely one of the most popular areas. Lots of people walking around, biking, taking their dogs out, and most notably, it's very well connected to a lot of popular areas that have breweries, restaurants, and other retail. So really a popular spot to be on the weekend. And while most people, when they think of North Carolina and mountains and the Appalachians, they're thinking more Asheville. But fortunately for people who live in Charlotte, just about 25 miles away is Crowder's Mountain State Park, one of the most popular hiking destinations near downtown Charlotte. It actually has two peaks, Crowder's Mountain and the Pinnacle, and it even connects to a portion of the Appalachian Trail, which is a trail that connects along the East Coast between Georgia and all the way up to Maine. I feel like we've barely even scratched the surface of all the things that there are to do and see and explore in Charlotte, all the different neighborhoods. There's just so much culture and other great restaurants and breweries and all sorts of fun things. But that might be something I just have to leave for everybody watching this to explore for themselves. So thanks again for watching. Hope everyone's staying safe. And we'll be together soon. But of course, on behalf of the Charlotte members of Tomorrow's Leaders, thanks to everybody for all the things that you're doing for your communities and for the CF Foundation. Thanks.